There is a Batman shaker cup.
Is there?
Wait, what? What is that? First of all, can I just say I don't understand people when they put those like big like monitors, almost like TVs, above their setups, because unless your bed is facing that direction,
Mm-hmm.
right? For the TVs, that makes sense. Unless your bed is facing it, I can understand. But when you're like on a daily, like just casually, right? Why do you put them up there? You're not gonna strain in your neck to look up when you're doing work.
I mean, it's also
Are
easy
you?
just to like look up.
Yeah, but what's the point? Like, why wouldn't you just get a second monitor instead,
Yeah,
or
I
like a
mean,
third
honestly,
monitor?
for me at this point, the wide monitor should be like
Mhm.
below it, and if anything, that one should be above. Like, I don't understand that layout
Well, the thing that
personally.
I also don't, I mean, what I hate is I really would love to have those curved monitors, but they're like at least 1,000 minimum. They're fucking
Chris has an ultra wide, but
expensive.
it's not like um whatchamacallit. Sorry, I was just catching up on my notifications. He has an
Okay.
ultra wide, but it's not curved. I don't think.
Mhm.
No.
Like I really would love to have like a curved monitor in the front, and then just have like either two monitors on the sides, normal ones, or just one. Like I don't need three monitors. I'm just saying, just
Yeah,
convenient.
I do. I want another one. I have three right now.
But no, do you see the shaker cup in the back
Oh
next to
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
PC?
yeah,
Like, can I have that shaker cup? It looks fucking dope.
yeah. That's. I mean, it's not a bad layout.
Like, no, imagine well, he needs to get some shelves in because it's the desk is too cluttered. Like a shelf
That
for
was
to
my thing.
display
It's
everything.
too. Yeah.
But like, it'd be really dope if people made literal decals for fucking G Fuel shaker cups that you could just put on, and
Oh,
then you
I'm
could
sure it's on eBay or something like that.
like that would be like. But the thing is, you really could only do that with the white ones, to be
Mm,
honest, and just change the
yeah, I
caps.
have the white one with the phase, the basic phase
The-
logo.
I I haven't. Where are the face shaker cups? I haven't seen them in a long time.
They might be doing a rebrand. Actually, so that sort of kind of leads us into a topic. Okay, so first off, there is like one viewer, which is Nightbot right now, which is dope. However, we're putting this on YouTube, so it's perfectly fine, right, Viv? Cause content. Hi
Yeah, dude,
everybody.
you're making me nervous. That's pressure.
Hi everybody. My name's Panda. I guess we are back with the talk show number 2. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who tuned in for the first one. We got a lot of unexpected support from it, which I'm extremely grateful for. So for that, we are going to walk into a podcast idea that Viv and I have been working on for quite a while now. Little bit in the process. We're gonna work out the kinks. Um, so I'd like
Do
to
you have to use that word?
introduce Goddess. How do you pronounce it? Goddess Ramon? Goddess Raymond?
GoddessRemon.
Goddess Reman. Raymond? Raymond?
Yeah. Well,
Goddess
it's okay. A lot
Raymond.
of people say it differently. It's just
I mean,
people either say that's why I have the ramen
I was about
because
to
everyone says
say
ramen.
your picture is ramen, so it's a little confusing, but it's
Well,
okay.
it derives from the word remonstrative, which means to like protest against something. That was the original word for it that I had. And then you know how Xbox did their gamer tag thing where they
Yes.
deleted all the yeah, right when they did that the day of it, I remember I got on for home from school and I got on and I fucking changed my name straight to Remon, and that's it, and I kept it that way because you know how the OG was five letters or less.
Yep.
So that's where it came from. And ever since then that's what I've had, but people still call me just Viv.
That works.
That's it.
So do you want to talk a little bit about your esports experience and what you have done? Because we've actually worked together.
Are you gonna make me do it? Like this is like an interview process. I've already done multiple things. I've already done multiple things like that in the last couple of
Come on,
months. All right.
you got this.
Um. All right. Well, my name is Vivian. I have been working in the esports industry for around 3 years now. With companies like Enix that had a professional Smite team, Cyclone. I was a chief marketing officer there, and we had the best four Brawlhalla players in the world. People still talk about our organization still to this day and the history that we made in that scene. And my most recent company was Gangstars. We had the famous player Sice, who's now under 100 Thieves, which is really good for him. I clap.
Bruh,
Good job.
bruh, it's Cease.
I call him Sice. I can call him whatever I want.
We love
He wasn't in
Cease.
the organization I worked for. I can call him whatever I want.
Cease Pride.
Even though I actually don't think I ever talked to him once when he was under the organization. But that's a different thing. Let's pretend I have a lot of things to do with him, taking his cred. Uh, but yeah, I worked under Gangstars and I was a marketing manager there. I did a lot of different things, a lot of social media stuff, a lot of marketing stuff. I dabbled with a lot of things. And you know that, Amanda, because I did so much different
You
work.
you you did. It was funny. I came into Gangstars a month after Viv did, and Viv was introduced to me as like the mother of Gangstars. And I remember our first conversation. I was like, "Wow, so you must have been here for a while." You're like, "Nah, a month." I was like,
Yeah, I
"What?
remember that
All right,
conversation.
cool." But yeah, me
Because
and my God, we've known each other for over 6 months now.
I mean, yeah, longer than that.
Almost a year actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like we worked in Gangstars for 6 months.
Yeah, I was in
And then
Gangstars for 6 months.
yeah, it's been a while. And like when I was there, I did a lot of work. And like the most recent thing that I did, like the biggest thing that I ever did was that Gamers Outreach campaign, which Amanda a loving hand in. Thank you very much. Um, and that was really really neat because we were able to raise like $3,800 and get that go kart for the kids.
Yeah, it was really cool to see like esports is a very thankless job. Especially
Mhm.
the stuff that we do behind the scenes. I mean, me now, I kind of like take journalism to heart. That's what I do solely. I would love to get back into esports, but right now I don't really have the time.
Mhm.
But like for you to do what you did with the whole marketing campaign and everything to get that go kart and to change children's lives whose lives have been affected by cancer and other tragedy, like that's really dope. It's really awesome.
Oh yeah, like when I saw the picture of like Alex being there, like who is the CEO of
Hmm.
Gangsters, if you guys don't know, Alex being there and like seeing the pictures of like the kids and them having the go kart, like I was like, I'm like my heart, like straight up, I was just so happy. Like I was genuinely proud of myself, and I'm a very harsh critic of my own self. And the thing is, like, I really do criticize myself, and I do criticize like the work that I do. And I always think that I can do better and better and better.
Hmm.
But I'm really proud of this. Like straight up, like this is something that even when I apply to companies, like this is what I said. Like this is something that is like for me like my best work,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
mean, for you, it was
really represents
definitely.
like
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
that's it. It just represents what I can do.
uh, yeah. It was a really fun project to like work on with all of us. Even like some of the charity streams, it was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Having the sponsors that we did, it was awesome. Um,
Well, yeah, like you remember the problem that we had was just that we couldn't even like Gangsters were struggling to get sponsors, and this really really helped us out. Like we got 5 new partners just for this campaign.
we did, yeah. And it kind of gives like a little bit of like an insight into. Aw, Chris gave me a
Wait, what?
biddy. Thanks for the biddy, Chris. I appreciate you. Um,
We love you, Chris.
yeah, we love you, Chris. Mwah. Uh, but the back end of esports is really interesting. A lot of people don't really understand how it goes. It's really
Hmm.
easy just to say, hey, so a contract says this, so this happens. There's also a lot of assumptions that go on with esports.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I think one of those huge assumption was recently the Red Reserve issue in
Hmm.
Call of Duty, where the players unfortunately kind of found themselves facing a lifetime like casualty, not even casualty, but like I'm losing like my words right now, but getting a text or a call and going, "Hey, get out of the house. You need to be out by tomorrow." And you're a pro
Well,
player, like yeah.
well, I think that this is, in all honesty, like a very like everyday esports situation. And the reason why I say that because like this has happened quite frequently in the last couple of like the last like year to 2 years. This has been a very common occurrence, and this is something that I always say to people when people ask me about esports. Um, and like finding experienced staff members to work under your companies and finding people that really understand it. It's like there's only two options in esports. Either you know it or you don't. That's it.
Mhm.
you can't do one or the other. Like either you know what you're doing or you don't know what you're doing. Because with esports, it's either you like to be able to be in the esports industry, you really have to follow it avidly. Like you really have to, see like the mistakes of what other companies are doing, the things that work in esports. Like the community is so different, the culture is so different from other industries, and it's so unique in its own way that like if you don't really follow it or you're not part of it, then you're never really going to understand it. Which is exactly why a lot when like sports, like when people talk about sports and how esports and sports are the same,
Mhm.
there are similarities, but they're so different. And like that's exactly why when people from sports come to esports, it never works, and they just throw money and they lose it because they don't know what they're doing. You can't do that with esports,
Mhm.
and that's kind of if we're from that topic with Red Reserve, like if we start off from like the very basics and kind of how Red Reserve was like started and founded, like it was a huge sniping organization. That's
Yeah.
what they did. Like
Yep.
remember that?
Yep. Yeah. What
And
game was that back in? Jeez, was
Black
that?
Ops 2 or like Black Ops 1.
Yeah. I thought that was around like the Black Ops. What was after Black Ops 1? Modern Warfare 3?
There's been so many Call of Duties. I can't
Oh
even
my
tell.
god.
After
Or
Black
was
Ops
it
2 was Ghost.
Ghosts? Okay, yeah.
Ghost was after Black Ops 2.
Okay. So yeah, it was definitely like Black Ops 1.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember really exactly, but like wasn't Red Reserve supposed to be like the sniping slash content side of Phase? Or like the secondary? I don't remember exactly because I know they had the Phase logo for a little while
Mm.
or something like that. It was so long ago. This was like what 2014, like 2014 or something?
It was like OG blow up of
Like
COD
old school
days,
days.
yeah.
Like when there was Dare Rising and Soar, when they were all doing their sniping stuff, like
Yep.
the good old times. Like even if you look at Red Reserve's like YouTube channel now, like
Mhm.
if you look at the most popular videos, it's all of their sniping montages. So yeah. And like they were Red Reserve has always been known, and like their roots have always been from like sniping and YouTube and things like that. And I think that things really started changing when remember when their content team got dropped and their whole house was just like shut down.
Yeah.
That's around the time that I believe like Red Reserve went under. Straight up, like it's because I always believe that when the roots of a company are the most important part of the company. Because if that, you know what I mean, like, because that's like where your most loyal fans are.
Mhm.
It's like again, like taking OpTic and then taking Call of Duty away from it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, OpTic has its history, OpTic has its other titles, OpTic has its fan bases from other communities, but Call of Duty is where it's at. You know what I mean? That's where it was born. That's where it was raised from.
Mhm.
And the same thing with Red. It's like you're taking like its baby and you're just throwing it out the window. Great way of great way of saying it. But that's kind of what happened.
Well, I mean, now
And like
what is it? Red Reserve Entertainment or whatever? That's
yeah,
the
they have
big
their
company
entertainment
now.
part.
Yeah, now that they're apparently, according to their statement that they put out, apparently the investment in Call of Duty was too much for them to burden. However, they were the ones to make the investment. So that's kind of like going to a Walmart, making a $200 purchase, going home and going, "Oh god, what did I do?" and then going back after you use those products. Like that's not really how that works.
Well,
Um yeah.
well, what I think would happen was like when what I think would happen was when Orbit and Red Reserve merged, right? And they like had their whole brand, and then they got the whole thing of the company buying them out, and then they became a full-fledged esports organization. That's what they announced, right?
Mhm.
I think that like again, this is the case that I mentioned earlier. Company comes in, it's like okay, like we have an idea, right? But and we have like these previous members from Red Reserve, like some of these staff, because they kept some of the staff there, mainly the owner, which is now gone. But things like that, right? So they're like, okay, we have the owner that knows something about esports, right? We have the numbers. That's what matters, correct? Because that's what always matters in business. So we're gonna go into it thinking we know what we're doing and go in. And since obviously Red Reserve was not part of esports, so they don't really have a lot of esports knowledge.
Mhm.
And especially since like they went into Call of Duty, which is the most unanalytical like analytical esport. Like it's like every single day something changes. Every single day, like you think that the salaries are normally like 2,000 per player, then you go in tomorrow and they're like, okay, now it's 5,000. It's such a weird market because you know how I mean you know how it is, especially since you guys had that podcast, you
Yeah,
and
I was about to
Edgar last
say.
time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with you get these bigger players who have more money, so they can come to the table and go, hey, so $2,000 for you to pay for a player per month might feel like $10,000 to your org. However, I can walk in and just go, bam, 15K, come to my org, and people gotta eat. Like players gotta make a living. It would
Mhm.
be silly
I mean,
for them
players are
not
making a
to
living right
entertain
now.
that idea. And since players did entertain that idea, um, basically 90% of the players' salaries rose. Back in 2017, I mean, anybody is free to correct me wrong if I'm wrong. The average salary was around $2,500 a month.
Mhm.
And that's for a top player, top player.
Yeah,
Um,
times have changed.
Now in 2019, where we are currently still going through a roster mania, like it's coming to an end. But you're looking at a median between 10 and 12,000 a month per
I mean, I
player.
saw some people getting 20K, like some top pros at some
It
point.
is reported that Zuma is making 20 grand a month, and John from LG is making 22.
That's
Those are the
crazy.
top players right now.
But that's
The
just
the,
crazy.
the OpTic guys are close to there, and it's insane because, I mean, before the phase announcement came, what was it, yesterday or the day before? Zuma was essentially sitting on the bench collecting bank.
Mhm.
That's 20 grand a month. I mean, shit, I do it. That's the also issue that you have with Spacely over from Gen.G. He essentially got benched, but he's collecting 10K a month sitting on the bench, and no other org wants to pick that up. Either
I
they don't want to, or they financially can't afford it.
Well, I mean, like that's what I'm talking about, and that's when that remember that huge time back in I think it was late 2018 or like around that time or like early 2019 when there was a huge mass firing spree like from Activision and other esports companies, and people were just losing jobs left and right.
Yeah, it was late
And
2018, headed into early
mhm.
2019.
And like the reason why I think that happened, and this is my theory, and again, as Amanda said, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what happened was, and it's still an issue with esports, truly an issue, is that there's a huge inflation in the market,
Oh yeah.
and it's like investors are starting to realize, or they're opening up their eyes. They're like, okay, we're paying 40K for something that's only worth 10K. Why? Like, why are we doing this? And they're not making their money back, and people are getting like they're getting salaries that are over the actual pay count that they should be receiving. And pros are and like all these leagues, especially like Call of Duty, are becoming so extremely expensive. When in reality, they really shouldn't be. They're like Call of Duty is a great esport in its
Uh
own
huh.
way. Like, I mean, I competed in it for like when I was back in Black Ops 2 for like 3 4 years for fun,
It's kind of
and I
ironic
loved
to
it.
think that we actually like essentially competed next to each other. Because I
Yeah.
played in Black Ops 2 as well. But like that also shows like that's another conversation of female esports players. But
Uh,
yeah,
we need to go into that topic at some point, actually.
we do, we'll get there. But continue your thought.
Let me actually write that down
Yep,
real
I was
quick.
about to.
um, anyway, but yeah, and that's the thing, and it's like I think that mass firing spree was to kind of balance out that inflation in the market,
Oh, absolutely,
and
it was.
um, and that's the thing, and it's like I was actually asked recently in an interview, and I won't list the company, but I was actually asked like what do I think about these like new brands, like these peripheral brands and things like that coming into esports and throwing money around, um to have their logos represented, and like there's been people that criticize these types of companies. Like, what do you think about that? And I said, well, that the exact thing that I just said. It's like there's such an inflation in the market, and it's like, and on top of that, like if you look at like these types of companies, like especially like peripheral companies, right? Let's just take an example. Um, Legitimately, it's so hard to be a new company, regardless if it's peripherals, organizations, whatever it is, and to get into esports right now. It's so hard unless you got mad cash, and even then, even with mad cash, I mean, or esports organizations might have a little bit of an easier time, but like if you're like a company that produces like headphones or mice or like keyboards, you're gonna have such a hard time because there are certain standards already set in esports, and there are certain things that are like people already follow. that really people don't want to go and do something else or use something else. You know what I mean? Same thing with esports organizations. Like even if you pick up the best roster, like okay, you have the best roster. The moment that roster leaves, people don't want to have anything to do with your organization anymore. It's so hard to build a brand in esports because there are people that already own such big chunks of it. You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
yeah, I mean that was kind of a talk that Edgar and I kind of got into, like a hypothetical, like what happens in 2020 with franchising in Call of Duty, where salaries skyrocket again. We could be facing a reality where like Crim and Scump may not be with OpTic. Like that would be insane. And then what happens after that?
I mean, we had Scub not being optic for a little while. If you want to be technical, that did
For
happen at
what?
some point.
3 days?
I mean, do you remember what happened? I like when Scump announced that he was with Envy, right? I think that's who he was with.
Yep.
When he announced when he was with Envy, and you actually can have like there was a talk between I think it was on eavesdrop between like Hex and Hastro
Uh huh.
about they would talk about Scump.
Oh yeah.
And it's like when that happened, that announcement came out, the whole community was just up in the air. Like it was the craziest moment in literally in Call of Duty history, just because we all know like this is like Scump has been an optic for what like 7 years now
It's been
or
the
8 years.
majority of his career.
It was like yeah, like it's just and this, to think that like he's gone, that blows my mind.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know, it just for me, and this is what I'm really struggling with is I know that Call of Duty is going to get franchised soon. I understand that, even though
Yeah.
I don't agree with the way that it's going to be franchised, but that's another thing. Um, the thing is, it's just Call of Duty is not worth the salaries that people are paying these players. I just like they shouldn't be getting salaries that like people like in League of Legends get straight up. Like they shouldn't be getting 20K. They shouldn't be getting 20K.
What?
There's just no way you can invest that into something completely different.
So I mean, the reason for some of these players getting 20K is not necessarily just because of like
Well, yeah,
their
not because of their
skill. There's a
playing,
lot of stuff that goes behind it. Their marketing ability, their ability to make content, their personality. There's a lot that goes into it. Like Zuma
but
getting.
20,000.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a
Like
lot.
I understand if you were to
It's a
like if everyone
lot.
in the esports community was getting paid like let's just say as an example 3,000 per player like average salaries, right? That was the base salary. And then players like Zuma were getting paid like 4.5 because they had the marketing behind them, they had the brand behind them, they had, things like that that also gave them more credibility within the scene compared to like players that really don't that are kind of unknown, like part of some of the players from the EXG rosters
Yeah.
before they were bought. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like I think it's just too much. I just don't understand it, and I don't really. And I understand like these organizations cannot really do anything about that. Like
Nope.
that's why like some of these orgs are like for example with FaZe Clan and them buying a spot, like they were hesitant because they were just like it's just such a waste of money right
It's
now
a
until it gets
lot of
franchised.
money to pay for. I mean, think about it. You put. I mean, for FaZe Clan, no, of course, 10 to 20, maybe even 30K on the high end for a spot isn't a lot to them. But you got salary to pay each month, guaranteed. Um,
Bro,
that can
you're
hit
paying
upwards to
like
a quarter of a mil, if not more.
yeah, you're paying that for the whole 2019, like you're paying that for this year's CWL season, right? And then you're
Yep.
not even insured to get a pro league spot
Yep.
once it franchises. What's the point? I just don't like it. Just it's a loss of money,
I mean,
and
Edgar
that's why
said
I get into it.
Activision is not even going to look at you unless you got 100 mil in the bank.
Yeah, so it's like there's no point and there's no history
So
behind
what? So
it.
you're gonna
There's
drain your bank even further just to put in a bid, when in actuality, probably Activision's probably gonna look at you and go, "What the hell are you doing? You don't have enough in the bank. You don't have a track record to show you're good enough." And our people that we've talked to from ABCD says that you've missed payments. That's not happening. Bye. So
I mean, I don't know about that because I mean, with what they did with the CWL Pro League this year, who knows? I mean, unless like, and I told you this before, and I'll be straightforward. I can get like flamed for this if anyone wants to do that, but like, I legitimately think that Activision just doesn't know what the heck they're doing. Straight up, the fact that they're practically going to copy and paste like the actual like Overwatch League system, the franchising system from there into their game, just proves that they just don't understand how to do it
I
themselves.
mean, we don't
Because if they knew how to do
necessarily
it themselves, they
like
would have done it.
know that's gonna happen, but from what it seems like right
There's a
now,
lot of talks.
yeah, from what it seems like right now, it definitely seems like that what they're doing. It will probably be the most logical plan to do, especially if you're taking a model that is quote unquote working, and putting it to another game. For me personally, I don't necessarily mind franchising. Um, it worries me that it's going to be the minds at Activision that do that because I'm personally not a big fan of Activision right now. Um,
Mm-mm. Especially
but
this year from what
yeah,
they've done with the rule sets
I
for the CWL League.
exactly. I
No.
worry about the fact. I mean, to be fair, at that point, I don't even think CWL would be in charge of the contracts. It would be Activision Blizzard directly.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
And then at that point, they're probably just going to take the same contracts that work for the Overwatch League and implement it into the Call of Duty League. With that, giving players a little bit more like safety control.
Well, that's what I like. That's what I like about franchising. It
That's
gives players like,
that's the
especially since
big
this
thing.
year, that's completely
Yeah,
opposite than what
yeah.
it's going to be. But like, it's
Honestly,
going to give them be able to give them like a way to just like not get effed over, and that's what
yeah,
I like about it. But
yeah, absolutely. Like this year, like even just like being who I am, like a little journalist sitting in the corner trying to do things. Like it hurts. Like reading about these people that like I love to watch during the weekends or when the Pro League qualifiers or Pro League is on during the week. Um, and then I see a tweet and they're like, "Well, shit, I'm homeless," or they're like, "Well, shit, I just got dropped," and I found out from X dude on the other team who's taken my spot. Like, it's really shady. I don't like it. Especially this year with franchising coming next year. All of these little, I'm gonna call them shady, weaselly business owners are trying to do as much as they can before the quote unquote ban hammer comes down next year. And they're not going to be able to do this shit. Hopefully, next year during a roster mania, it won't be a thing where an entire roster can be wiped and one dude is sitting on the bench as a sub for the entire year.
well,
Hopefully,
that's
that's
not the
not going to happen.
organization's fault. Yeah, that's not the
No, it's
organization's fault
not.
though. I
Nah.
still it's
They,
CWL's fault.
to be fair, those organizations are following the rules.
Right. And they're just, I mean, yes, they're
Yeah.
abusing the rules in a certain way. Maybe if we're talking about PR, it's not the greatest look.
No.
But
But
obviously,
at the
like,
end of the day, it's about business and money rules everything. So
everything, exactly.
if this shitty business move is gonna get you more money in the end from sponsors, or maybe just because those players have more of a history and they're more experienced in the competitive aspect of the game, they can do that. But to me personally, I don't agree with that, especially not an entire roster shift.
Oh,
One
yeah.
to two
I,
players maybe, but yeah, like
I mean, remember what happened with UU when they moved, like, what is it, like one or two players
yeah.
and the backlash that they got? I don't know. It's a very difficult situation. I mean, now that we've seen the amount of times that it's happened, I mean, now we're a little bit more forgiving. But I mean, obviously, like, I don't know. It's just difficult. It's a difficult situation. Like even when like it was literally the beginning of the league, right? I remember there was a player that legitimately was like, where I don't remember what player it was, and it sucks that I don't because I remember reading their tweets and I was like very emotional about it. Where they literally tweeted like they were like, I have to, I've literally just dropped everything to pursue this as a full time career, and like I've busted my butt off to get to where I am and I finally qualified to the pro league and now I have to tell my mother and look her into the eyes and tell her that all of that work that I just put in doesn't fucking matter because I got dropped.
Yeah,
And it's just
it
like
was
wow.
probably one of the original EXG Midnight dudes.
Possibly, yeah. And it's just like,
Um,
and when I heard that I was just shocked. I'm like, I just feel so bad.
but on like, and this was another thing that kind of like opened my eyes during like the Edgar podcast, which is why I was like really excited to do it. Like I've been talking to this dude for a while, and like he's giving me such an interesting like insight on different things on esports. Where like at first glance, when I heard about like the Midnight situation, I was like, "Yo, dude, like that's really messed up." Like the fact that these players work their asses off to work through the qualifiers and to make it, um, and then to go through and have a kick-ass record of like 6-1 and 6-2 or something like that, and just for them to get dropped. However, there were some shady things in their contract that they signed for, and apparently one of the major reasons they signed with Midnight was because they wanted to get an extra $500 a month. However,
Mhm.
that contract then,
Fuck them over.
yeah, it essentially screwed them over. We're seeing that a lot this year. With I wouldn't say necessarily make players making poor choices because they're not. Um, but contracts. A lot of really shady contracts which give orgs a lot of power, um, basically locking players into unrealistic contracts. We have a roster Romania in Call of Duty essentially every like 3-4 months, but some of these contracts are locking these players for 2 years. That's two
Mhm.
completely different Call of Duties. Um, which to me that's unrealistic. I don't agree with that. I think that's a little much. But these players, they don't necessarily have the means to go out and drop $1,000 to $5,000 to have a contract lawyer look over this stuff. So, and some of these players aren't necessarily, they don't even have $500 to have Joe Schmo the lawyer down the street to look over this stuff because they're in a situation where this is life or death. Not necessarily life or
Mhm.
death, but it's either I do this or I have to go work at McDonald's. And
Right.
let's all be real, not everybody's gonna make it out of McDonald's being a CEO like Nate shot. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, so it puts the players in a really crappy position. Um, and I mean, especially for us, even as like people who potentially go in as staff members for some of these orgs, even to get our contracts looked over.
Oh
Sometimes our
God.
sometimes our contracts are copy pasted from players. Um, I had one contract that I signed for org that I worked for. It was literally a copy pasted contract for an amateur CS:GO org, and it had my last name spelled wrong. So
I mean, at least if you wanted to, you could have gotten out of that contract. That's good.
yeah, I did. Uh, but yeah, like next year is gonna be completely different. It's gonna be a lot more professional for everybody on every single level involved. Um, we're not gonna have these weird orgs doing weird stuff. Like I actually don't think I told you this, but I'm a part of the CWL Intel Discord,
Mhm.
and I was in there the night before Egger's podcast. And Elevate staff and COO went into there and tried to like bait and get information from like everybody.
Really?
Like trying to figure out, they're like, well, we don't know what our roster is, so do you guys know what our roster is? Like really weird, unprofessional stuff. Like the COO was doing that.
Well, we know why he was doing that
Um,
now after we found out a couple of other information about that behind the scenes, but
yeah, but yeah, like weird stuff like that. Even like reportedly the Overwatch League players, no, I'm sorry, the League of Legends players, they cannot negatively tweet about a patch, and if they do, they are fined $10,000. Do
oh my
you
God, imagine if
know
that happened in Fortnite,
how
everyone would go
much Call of
bankrupt.
Duty players bitch? Like it's like
Bro,
the
Fortnite
only thing I
players.
was about to say, the only thing taking that over right now are the Fortnite players, and I side with them on this one. That's another thing. Uh, but dude, like actually Edgar, he was talking about it in a tweet thread the other day, talking to a kid who was like, it's not gonna be that serious next year. Orgs can't take responsibility over scrims, yada yada yada. Like if a player's late to scrims, like there's excuses. It is what it is. Like what happens when if you're late to a scrim and by every 30 minutes you're late, you're fined $1,000. That
Well, then
that
the
can
whole
be that
situation
can
of
be
what
a
Chris would
reality. That
like OpTic and
yeah.
100 things wouldn't happen.
No.
But that's another story as well. Because
I
the
mean,
thing is, right
I
now
mean,
in college, go ahead.
my opinion on the whole OpTic thing and what they're doing, that's egos.
Well, no, the thing is right now, and I have a couple of things to say about everything you've said.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is I don't think there's discipline in the scene at all. That's the first thing. People don't. There's no discipline at all. Which is exactly why like OpTic Gaming has the most instance. Like, I mean, I'm not even a fan of the OpTic Gaming squad anymore. I'm not a fan of like organizations like FaZe Clan anymore. Because to be honest with you, I don't know. It just the way that they act and the way that, like it's not it's like the way that they were back in Black Ops 2 and the way that they are now. It's all about egos and money and fame and clout, which is exactly why, like, for example, like I've heard some things behind the scenes about how like Scump is like, for example, like was really envious and jealous about what Nadeshot did with 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
It's like constantly trying to like, I understand like they have a rivalry, and it's also something that was mentioned in the Hex podcast, but it's like I don't think it goes beyond rivalry. I really just believe it's like they're always trying to see like who can be the bigger man, who can make the
Oh,
most
it's
money.
always been like a big bro, little bro thing between Scump and
Yeah.
Nate Shot, but like that, like I love seeing that. It's
Well,
awesome
yeah,
because it's
and the other
clearly
and
propelled both of them forward.
well, yeah, and the other thing that I really don't think, like, well, first of all, I think that with franchising, they're gonna have everyone's gonna have set contracts, which is really nice, and there's gonna be, I hope to God, that there's gonna be a lawyer that's gonna be able to look over all contracts within the every player that's in the CWL league.
Well, according to Edgar, the average Overwatch contract, like for an average player, not like your huge Pocos or people like that, is between 50 and 100K.
Okay.
So yeah, figure salaries are gonna go up a little bit.
Mhm.
Also, lawyers are gonna be involved. They're gonna have health insurance. They're gonna have benefits. A lot of like, and it's gonna be absolutely guaranteed money. Like, there's
Mhm.
no way they can't get paid. I'm pretty sure that there's some type of revenue share going on within the Overwatch League as well for like skins and such. So that might be implemented as well. So players might be getting a little bit more from that. There's obviously win incentives. Um, so
I
yeah,
mean, there's
it's
a
gonna be
lot.
it's gonna be a lot
And
more stable.
And the other thing that I really don't like about Call of Duty is the fact that there's even I mean, I understand that there's roster mania, obviously. Like, in Call of Duty, it's such a fast-paced game. Like, like even just a slight update to like, for example, how there was an update to the SOG and it was completely fucking useless, and then everyone switched to like a completely different like team set, and they completely changed the rosters around for everything that they were doing. Like, I think Call of Duty is definitely a game that requires a little bit more regarding roster changes than other games. Okay, I can understand that, but I just think that there's too many roster changes. I truly believe that I think that there's so much history between the players, and there's so many players that don't like each other.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, they just play with each other because they have to. But it's like this constant, like, them having personal issues, and them like, I feel like what made OpTic Gaming so amazing was that OpTic Gaming literally is one of the few rosters that when they're together, and it's very hard. It doesn't happen very often when there's a roster change from OpTic Gaming specifically. Like, that's what I love about OpTic, is that one thing that I love about them now is that like they stick with the squad, and let's just say they placed one or two tournaments very poorly, they know that as long as they stay together and just try to grind it out, they're going to be on top.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of organizations, specifically not organizations, but teams and players, think that if they constantly make a quick roster change, it's going to improve their roster, not just playing as a team and developing and growing. I just don't know why people don't do that anymore. And that's why it's like I just don't understand it, and I don't agree with the amount of roster changes that happen. Like, the fact that we have to have, like, for example, the Xterra make like 6 articles a week about the roster changes is crazy. Like, I'm just being honest, it's fucking crazy. Like,
No,
it
no, no,
shouldn't be
you're
happening.
fine.
You don't see any other esport doing that. Like, I know I heard a lot of like when we were talking to investors in a different company, and I won't name which one that I was working under, like, people were afraid to enter Call of Duty because these investors were saying like it's such a
Uh huh.
shaky thing, because like, okay, we're gonna sign this team, and then in a week one of them is gonna bitch, and then one of them is gonna leave, and then one of them is gonna retire, and then one of them is gonna do something else, and it's just like it's almost as if it's almost impossible to have a roster for more than 2 months.
Well, I mean, the part of that reason is for like one, you only have a Call of Duty game for about 9 months. Um,
Mhm.
so you have to be able to fit as much as you can in that little of a time. Um, so yeah, if you realize that a player isn't running as well on the SOG because of this patch, uh, yeah, you might have to find somebody else to replace them just because, holy crap, we only have 3 events left until champs, and then we have this, and then we have that. And then,
And I agree.
yeah, like there's a lot that goes into it, and I believe that can be fixed if we have one singular Call of Duty. But that's not gonna happen.
That would never
I don't
happen.
think that's gonna
Because
happen.
that's the only thing, like literally constant Call of Duty updates. Like it'll never be like CS:GO. And I've also thought about this idea, but it's like literally the only reason. I mean, Call of Duty in reality, a lot of people say it will die, like how people said Fortnite's gonna die.
Yeah.
But in reality, Call of Duty really will never really die. Like
No.
it'll still be a game that people play,
Like
and
people,
it's still like
so
one of the top FPS games in the world.
yeah,
But
people
it's
don't
like the thing
understand that
about.
each
Go
year
ahead.
Call of Duty comes out, it sells and it gains so much money.
That's why they do
And
it. It
then you
brings hype
also
back
have the
to their
fact that you
game.
have like your battle passes or whatever, your season passes, and then you
Hmm.
have your DLC maps that come out, and then you have all these other microtransactions for cosmetics now. Like they are making bank. A DLC gets them $25 million. Like they are a multi-billion-dollar company. Activision is like, yeah, it honestly makes sense for Call of Duty to get franchised. It does.
I mean, it should have got. I mean, honestly, like, I mean, it's an esport that has almost a decade worth of like history
Oh
behind
yeah,
it. Which, by the way, I actually wanted your opinion because I mean, like, we discussed it before privately, but now that we're on a podcast, I want to say it, publicly. But
yeah.
what do you think of the possibility of having like kind of what Overwatch does, where it's like Houston Outlaws and things like that, like where we're kind of franchising in that regard, and there's not going to be an OpTic Gaming anymore.
Um, I mean, Edgar kind of brought up a really good point where like it's so hard for me because I like one of the main reasons I grew to love esports was because of OpTic.
Mhm.
And Call of
Same.
Duty. Like when I came home from high school, all I wanted to do was to hop online and just play Call of Duty until my mom or my dad called me for dinner, and then I'd ignore them for another like 40 minutes because I had to get those last matches in. Like I
Right.
miss those days so hard.
League play, man.
And
League play was the best. Black
yeah,
Ops 2 League play, I have so many hours. Oh
yeah,
my
and
god.
like having like running into somebody online, like if you're on the same team as somebody who had the Optic Gaming logo as their fucking gamer picture, and you were like, "Yo, green wall!" Like it was
Mhm.
dope. It was so awesome. But to go into a franchise model, I honestly don't think that we could keep, I'm gonna say, quote unquote, legacy org names around. So FaZe Clan, Optic, fucking, I don't know. Give me another org. Shit, UIU, uh, E United, whatever. What happens
Mhm.
if, God forbid, that organization was to shut down for some reason, but they're franchised? Or like Optic gets the, say, uh Houston area where you have your Houston Outlaws, and then you have
Mhm.
your Houston Optic or whatever. But like you can't really swip organizations and names and whatnot if there's something attached to it. Like the way that Edgar explained it was so like well put out. Like I really like wish I like could like transcribe it or
Bring
something
it
like
up.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the like I don't have like the experience in business that he does, and it seems that he also has experience in sports. Um, but like um, as a
You having
fan,
a brain fart?
yeah, a little bit, dude. It fucking sucks, dude. But as a fan, like as like somebody who fell in love with Call of Duty 10 years ago, I hate it. But as somebody who's a realist and somebody who understands that the world isn't always sunshines and daisies and it's essentially about money, like I kind of saw it coming. Um like it's such a cliche thing to say, but it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet knowing that there could be a time in Call of Duty where Optic might not be a thing, and it's going to be the Houston blah 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 or the New York blah 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 blah.
I mean,
Um,
like, I understand if they were to do
Esports
that,
isn't
but
going
let
to
them
be
keep the
internet.
word
Yeah,
OpTic in there. Like, if they were to say, oh,
esports.
Houston OpTic, I can understand that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, I don't understand how you can. Again, we're talking about a esports title. One of the esports titles that literally created esports, right? I mean, OpTic was literally founded on this and grew. And I mean, Hex is practically like the dad of esports. Hex and Hashro,
He's one of
correct?
they're definitely
Well,
one of
he's
them.
not. Yeah, he's one of them.
I would
And it's
say
like,
console esports.
yeah, okay, I agree. And it's like, at least for me, he's the dad of esports. That's because I started off from consoles.
Yeah,
I was never
you
really into
have the
PC until
whole
most of
fighting
like,
game community and the speedrun community. Like for me,
yeah,
what actually spawned esports for me, it had to be like speedrunning and fighting games.
okay. All right, so we come from different roots, but
We do.
like,
But also, like
um,
realistically, I'm also older than you. So,
I mean, yeah,
yeah, for me,
I do come from that root.
I grew up sitting around the N64 and a tube TV
I
playing
mean, I used to
GoldenEye.
have a GameCube. Okay, I used to have the original Xbox, a GameCube, a PlayStation 2. Like, I used to play like a lot of the old classic games. I'm just saying, like, Vivi is just not. I'm only 19. I grew up on my 360. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I sadly can't say I played the really nice and older versions of consoles,
Yeah,
but
but
still.
no, definitely like I completely understand where you come from. Your it honestly kind of is like the heart and soul of console esports that we grew up to love, regardless of the fact if it was Halo, Call of Duty,
Well, it's
or
not even that
anything
just
like
that.
that.
Like
Optic,
you
Optic
and
was
I,
there.
and around that age, like this age group that we're in, right? You and I and everyone around this age, a little younger, like
Yeah.
we're the esports viewers now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like the generation that's coming, like, are they really never gonna learn about Optic Gaming or Face Clan? Like, really?
It
It's
could
just
be.
I don't
It could honestly be a
get it.
possibility where we're heading into a new generational shift, where the esports fans now, they're gonna be learning about esports from the geological standpoint. So for us,
I don't know if I agree with that
we
though.
came in and we were like, holy shit, all these people are making really dope content. They're a part of this team Optic or Phase or Red or Obey or whatever. I'm gonna go chill with them. That's awesome. Now it's gonna be getting to a point where, oh, I live, for me anyway, I live near Philly. My local team
You're
is
doing the
Philly.
sports thing.
I'm
You're
going
doing the
to
sport.
support I'm going to support my local team.
Mhm. It just
I think that's where that's going. It's going to be
I know,
following
I understand.
that sports
But
model.
but the thing is that, and I was saying this in the podcast earlier, is I just don't believe that, and I said this earlier, that there are similarities between esports and sports, but I just don't believe that like you cannot just put the things that are in sports into esports. That's what I was saying earlier, is that sports is so different from esports. Esports is so diverse in its in the way that it does things, and the community, and the what the community wants and doesn't want. And I just don't believe that doing the type of style that sports does. I mean, it fits in some way, but for Call of Duty specifically, I just don't like it. I genuinely don't like having to go to Optic Gaming and then go on there. They have three different Twitters now, so I go to Optic Gaming for their Gears of War team, Houston Outlaws for their Overwatch team, Houston something or like Dallas whatever for their other team. Like, I
That's
don't
why
want to
you
go
start getting Twitters like Optic Update or 100T Live or
and it's like, why
Liquid
exactly?
Live.
But
Yep.
it's just frustrating that I have to go to 13 different Twitters to be able to watch an esports organization that is supposed to really be under one brand. And imagine, like, when you're coming into esports, unless you throw a mad catch right away, it's going to be so hard to build your own brand.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing it like that, then really, like, you're like, you really have to pick one game and continuously be able to, in every single game that you expand to, if you haven't started in esports now, so you're entering when that the franchising for like Overwatch is now in Call of Duty and in other titles, you're gonna have to literally enter as, like, let's just say again, you're the Houston Outlaws, right? Let's just say they never existed. You go into the Overwatch League and you're now the Houston Outlaws. So for every single game that has that type of, like, first of all, you're going to be focusing on those types of games, right, that have that type of franchising system in it. And then you're going to have to make sure that you're always going to be the Houston Outlaws for every one of those, because you can't build your own personal brand. That's it. I don't know. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I
It,
just feel like it takes away
it's
from what esports was. It's like esports was supposed to be a place where, and this is what I like about Call of Duty before it became the way it was. And sorry
yeah.
if I'm ranting, but like, I
Nah,
feel
nah.
strongly about
That's why
this.
that's why
And
we're here.
Yeah, and it's like what I just don't like. What I loved about it is that you can come from nothing to something. In Call of Duty, you could be someone that used to play League play, that went on game battles, and then you got lucky, you got into a match with a pro, or you got lucky, you could play, you went to a LAN event with your friends, and you guys placed really well, or you got lucky and you guys got like this huge sponsorship or like something happened, and you just made it, and that's what I liked about it. And for some odd reason, like in the it's like now it just doesn't exist anymore,
Mm,
and I really don't like that. It's just like I just don't know, maybe it's just because like, and this is gonna sound really cheesy, it's because I consider myself an American even though I'm technically not. And you
yeah.
know how it is, it's like America prides itself, it's like, you always say like in America you can make any dream come true, you can come from nothing to something. And it's like I've always loved that mentality with things, and the fact that esports is going towards a place where it's like you can't do that anymore, it just, I don't know, it just hurts me a little bit.
It
You know what
it
I mean? It just
does. It
hurts
does,
me.
especially when we grew up. I mean, honestly, like for the generation before me, like when they fell in love with something, it was either like wrestling or traditional sports or something like that. Um, Obviously something that was very well established before, and we kind of got into the grassroots of an industry,
Mhm.
which is a really unique opportunity where you don't really get to see that much. I mean, think about it. There could be a time where we're talking to our kids and we're like, hey, so I remember when OpTic won their first Call of Duty championship. Now, OpTic, or whatever the heck they might be known at that point, might have like six different franchises and might be known as the next Yankees or something. Like, you never
Bro.
know. Um, or like, hey, I remember when I was around when Drake played with Ninja. Like,
Mhm.
regardless of how we might feel personally about Ninja, that was a dope ass night for gaming and esports. Like that was a record breaking night. And the next thing that might happen, who knows? Like, who knows? Courage might like team up with Obama. There's gonna
Bro,
be
that'd be dope.
something. Oh yeah, it would
That'd
be.
be so
That would
dope.
be actually that would be really cool. But
Yo, I
there's
wish I went
gonna
to the
be
TwitchCon
something
in
that
EU,
breaks it.
man.
Yeah,
Mhm. Like
yeah,
Courage was at TwitchCon, and I regretted it because I literally was like right next to me because I live in Germany, and it's like
yeah.
if I went, man, I would have met Courage. I promise you, man, I would have taken so many pictures.
He's
Holy shit, I would have sent you all of them. I would have taken a video of him saying I love you, Amanda. Like I would have. Oh my god, I fucking love Courage. I
Courage
don't
is
watch him
awesome.
personally, but like I just follow his Twitter, and I'm
Oh,
a
I
fan just
do.
by
I
just
do.
his Twitter.
I watch him. I tune in. The whole thing that he's done with little Connor, like once he left
Oh
casting
yeah,
and took
yeah.
Connor under his wing. I was like, yo, that's so dope. I don't even know if
He's a
this is a
sweet guy.
publicity stunt, but you warmed my heart, Jack. I love you.
I
Um,
mean, Courage is a perfect example of just like personal development, like developing your brand. That's it. And then he became successful. That's exactly what Nate did. Like again, I've said this millions of times, and this is off topic, and we're not going to go into this, but like I am an avid stand, like avidly stand for player development or personal branding
oh
development.
yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
that's what gets you in esports. Like if you do that in esports, like that's what OpTic Gaming did when they were like when OpTic Gaming was OpTic Gaming back in Black Ops 2 before it was bought out and Hex isn't owned
Where
anymore.
you
You know.
didn't post for 3 days and Hex would knock on your door and be like, "Yo, why didn't you post?" Like
Mhm.
that wasn't just for him being a dick. Like he knew. And now look at
Content is king.
Scump and Nadeshot and even Maniac and your guys like
Yeah,
Bose
there's
and
go.
Flame Sword. Like
Pitch.
they
Fucking
have that
pitch.
brand now. They don't
Yeah,
necessarily need OpTic, but they're sticking with OpTic because that's a family over there. So the Great Wall,
exactly.
they've been through ups and downs
A
and left and
lot.
rights, and especially the people who are there now after the whole 2018 fiasco. You know they're close.
Oh yeah, I mean like after if you like everyone that stuck by OpTic Gaming after Hex lost the majority of his own company after he sold. Like once like if you're still part of OpTic now, then that means you truly want to be part of OpTic Gaming. That was the moment where you kind of were like, okay, either like I really want to be part of this family and I still want to represent it for Hex because I care about Hex and I care about what we've built here, or it's like I'm just gonna dip. And you know what I mean? And that's why I have like mad respect for like people like Hitch, because even though yeah he had some issues with it and he was very public about it at some point, he still stuck with OpTic. You know what I mean? He's still there,
He
and
even
like
said in one of his
that's
podcasts
dedication.
that he constantly gets offers from other organizations and platforms. But he's like, nah, like I can't. and I respect the
Mhm.
hell out of that. Like at the end of the day, I feel like that's what we all want. We all want that home. We all want that place where we're like, damn, we're actually wanted, and we feel loved and deserved. And those guys at OpTic definitely weren't feeling that way during
Right.
2018. I mean, shit. I mean, the entire esports community, from fighting games to Candy Crush competitive, were upset when OpTic dropped the Halo team.
Candy Crush
Everybody was
competitive,
mad.
bro.
Everybody was mad. Everybody was like, "What are you doing?" Um.
Mhm.
So like, and Hit just talked about it a bunch, where he was like, "Yo, I honestly didn't know what else I could do to like try and rectify the situation. I wasn't getting listened to. The things that we were promised weren't getting delivered, but I fell in love with this company, and I'm gonna be here until this shit goes down. But fuck, why
Mhm.
isn't anybody listening to me?" And
Actually,
I
actually, I'm
mean,
curious to know
I
real
feel
quick.
like we've definitely felt that.
Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something else real quick. I want to know, like, on this topic, because we kept, talking about how, we don't like this organization, we don't like that organization. I'm okay with organization. Currently, like, what organization or organizations are you kind of, sorry, I was reading your message. What organization are you currently like really for? Like, cause I know you've been following Gen.G a lot. Cause I know you did it like an art. No, was it an article or a video or a podcast or something like that with the ladies over at the
Yeah, I
Fortnite team?
interviewed the Fortnite ladies over at Gen.G, which was really interesting. But like as for organizations that I'm super down for right now, Gen.G is definitely up there. I love absolutely everything that they're doing. Uh, besides of the besides the fact that obviously it hits close to home, where they're really trying to support and rise up female gamers,
Oh
and
yeah,
not just like your typical like
streamer
I
girls.
don't want to throw any names out there, but not the typical
We
e
all
girl.
we all know. We know what names they are, Amanda. You
I
don't need
don't
to tell.
no, I'm
You
not
just
doing
go to
it.
the fucking section
I'm not
on Twitch and you know.
I'm not doing it. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and um I respect that. But the fact
Every
that
single week on
Gen.G
Dexterity we see an article about a chick. But alright, we don't gotta
but
talk
I
about it.
respect the females that Gen.G that Gen.G selected. Uh just
Listen, I
because
don't got an esports career. I can throw shade. Okay.
like me personally, I'm a huge fan of Kitty. I love Kitty plays. She's dope. She's awesome. She has some real she's a really great mature female personality. And the fact that she's helping out with like player development over there at Gen.G is awesome.
Hmm.
I know the female gamers talk to her a lot, and they help her with just like kind of keeping your spirits up. Like
Right. I mean, it's
there,
hard in esports being a woman and everything
yeah, there was a
sometimes.
situation last week, or not last week. I would say it was about a month ago, where um the Gen.G girls were in a scrim and they killed a guy squad, and then they proceeded to go into
Hmm.
their stream and like harass them. You know, all the typical female stuff. Get back in the kitchen, yada yada yada.
Hmm.
And Tina went on Twitter and was like, "Yo, I don't know who you are with your $500 of winnings, but I've won $20,000 in tournament winnings. I'm signed to a tier A org. I get paid
You're
each
not a
month."
pro, yeah.
Like she wasn't necessarily like flexing on him, but she was like, "What the fuck are you
Educating him.
talking about?" Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
educating.
And then all of these dudes were just like, what are you doing? Like why are you being so mad? Why can't you just take it? Why don't you do this? Why don't you just do that?" And
Hmm.
for an organization to understand and respect and to supply the tools to fight that is hella respectful, in my opinion. Um, we have seen other companies try to do that. OpTic famously tried to start the quote unquote pink wall, and that disintegrated within, or whatever, like, that disintegrated in, I believe it was less than a day. Where, excuse me, Midnight, I believe, was on the
She read my message. That's what happened.
she was on the Eavesdrop podcast, And she was like, yeah, we got in there, and within like 2 hours, we were already fighting over roles. And me and you, Viv, we know what happens when you toss five females together
Oh my
into a
god,
game of
it's a
Call of Duty,
frenzy. It's a
and
fr-
it's not good. It never
well,
works out.
well,
However,
this is what I
if you
wait.
get
Can I just
a
say this is
go
this
ahead.
is what I don't like about females, and this is something like in general. Like when you drop a bunch of like when you drop five boys into a room, right? All right, like they try to bond with each other. You know, they got that bromance. You know, like whatever they do. You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll like talk all macho game, but when with girls, you know what I mean? Like girls are fucking vicious.
Yeah, we instantly size
They
each
will
other up.
literally Right, they will literally rip each other apart. Like what men do is they fight with fists. What women do is they fight with like literally like they just slowly destroy you. Like over time. This
Oh
isn't
yeah.
from personal experience. And they just like try to figure out like they analyze you and try to find all your weaknesses and then just push all of those buttons. It's awful. And that's what I don't like. Like in the female gaming community right now, and this is my biggest pet peeve with it, and it's been happening like this for over like 2 years now. It's that females don't support each other in the gaming community.
Oh
I
no.
mean, I understand why because of the fact that like literally 50 or set no about 70% of the females that are displayed in the community are all ethos. Excuse me for my language, but that's exactly what they are. And it's like it's really frustrating when this girl is like showing her boobs on stream, and then it's associated with me who isn't showing my boobs on stream, and I'm just working my ass off to get into esports and do it full time. And
Yeah.
I just don't understand, like, and I remember like when I was playing Call of Duty back in Black Ops 2, I literally had to pretend like I was a boy because I sound like a squeaker, to be able to get onto teams because players didn't want to play with me the moment they found out I was a girl. Like I would get
No,
into a
no, dude,
roster
that is
and then I would
no,
tell
it's a
them and then
real
I would get
thing.
dropped.
It's a real thing. No, that still happens to me to this day, especially when I play games like Rocket League or stuff like that. Um, I usually don't have my mic on. I usually
Mhm.
just use in-game chat. Especially when I was younger. My voice has actually gotten a little deeper like over the years, but I had a really high voice. Um, so anytime I would hop into a game, it was immediately noticed. I usually, especially back then in Call of Duty games, I would have my mic muted almost at all times. If I was to do a call out, I would purposely make my voice low. Yeah, like it was very intimidating. It's really annoying when you want to just go into a game and have fun. And regardless of the fact if you did good or you did bad, you don't want to be ridiculed just for being a female and enjoying games.
It really sucks. Like I've heard like stories about where people like they're I've heard a story about like there was a League of Legends match, and like the moment that she started speaking in the chat, everyone was yelling at her saying that she's like purposely like just like trolling and purposely just dying and feeding them.
Uh huh.
And they completely just completely just trolled the whole match and just draw like they purposely lost and they all left and they didn't even give a shit. And it's just
What
like
was
I
it?
don't
That
know.
popular Overwatch clip, right? With that
I
female,
think it
where
was.
they were
I think it
calling her.
was.
Yeah, they were calling her. Yeah.
Like there's so many situations. I don't know, it's really frustrating. It's like I just like that's what I like about Genji right now. And I mean Genji's doing a wonderful. I mean, did you see what was going on with their funding like their investment fundraiser?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Fundraising
It's
rounds? Like they are
amazing.
in 40 like they got 46 million. They got Will Smith. I mean, who doesn't love Will Smith? We
Fresh
all
Prince of
memed
Bel
him for
Air.
YouTube. And it's like, we're good to go now.
Yeah. I mean, also like they have a lot of venture capitalists like
And I just say that you had that ready to go and
jump
copy
in
and
here,
paste it
bro.
so
I
fast.
got this. That's my gerb. No, I'm kidding. But Gen.G said it will use the funding to launch a youth academy program, open team headquarters in LA this summer, and further expand into new games and regions.
Mhm.
So
I
I'm
mean, Genji's
excited.
doing a lot of good stuff right now.
Uh,
I really love Genji. I mean, like, I love Genji. Bless you. Um, I love Genji just from like literally something as basic as their color scheme.
it's
Like
cool.
straight up, I love Genji. Like I like a lot of the things about Genji. I even applied for their position, remember for their social media position that
Hmm.
time. Like I really like the organization. I like what they're doing. Like I would say that I at the current moment in Nintendo, my favorite organization of all time, and you know what I'm about to say. Like it's so obvious. I constantly talk
Hundred
about them all the time.
T.
100 is my baby. Like that
Everybody.
everything about 100 Thieves just like goddamn.
Yeah,
I fucking love.
They are
I
killing
love
it.
Nature. I love their logo. I love their merch. I love their teams. I love their graphics. I love everything about 100T. I love their YouTube series. I love the quality of everything that they do. Like 100 Thieves is just so fuck, man. Like, it's like the OpTic gaming for me now.
It
Like straight
it
up.
is. It is, and that's the thing. 100 Thieves is now the new OpTic Gaming, and that is
Mhm.
insane. Like it makes me so happy to hear. I've been a fan of Nade Shots for years. Like Matt's been amazing. I've always loved him. I've loved him when he like, goddamn, like originally played Halo. Um,
Mhm.
like even before the Call of Duty games, like his come up was absolutely awesome. His energy is amazing. The way that he's matured into a CEO, it warms my heart. Like
Oh
it's
yeah, he's
so
really grown
funny.
as a
It's
person.
so funny just thinking like, yo, like 5 years ago, this little skinny white kid from Chicago was twerking on a couch, and now he's working with Drake.
Oh
Like
my god, when I heard that,
the
I fucking flipped
ultimate
out.
come up. Like I'm so
Like, come
proud.
on. Like, I'm serious. Like, Nate Shot was an amazing person, at least for me to watch. Like, I love Nate Shot. Like, back in the day, I used to watch a lot of Nate Shots and a lot of Midnight.
Mhm.
Um, and like literally you went from Optic Gaming, who I loved, and Nate Shot's content was awesome. You went from that to then making 100 Thieves, and like I mean he retired and I didn't really watch him at that time, but when he made 100 Thieves, like okay, the first time wasn't that great, but when he really took a time, like the time to actually push it, right, really took the second time to actually push it, and there were other things that went into it, like oh, I mean, I really like. I don't even love League of Legends. I don't even like League of Legends. I don't. I literally played 20 minutes of League of Legends and I uninstalled League of Legends. That's it. And I don't touch that game. I don't look at that game. But just because of Nature and 100 Thieves and everything that they did, I watched their whole series. I watched the whole League of Legends series about like their players and like their there's like
I love
their
it.
matches and things like that. And I loved it. It's just such a high production quality. And I think I don't remember the exact name for it and I can't like I'm too lazy to type it up. But you know how OpTic is doing kind of the same thing where they have like their channel about I think it's Optic Vision. I don't know what it is. It's about their players though. I don't remember. Like 100.
You have Oracle. You also, I believe the other one is Insight.
I think it is.
Um,
Like you know how they talk about
yeah.
their players and it's kind of like the same thing what 100T is doing. I just think 100T is doing it better.
Nah,
Like straight up.
100, like, the one
100T is
thing
doing
that's
it
really,
better.
really dope that I really love is that Nadeshot hasn't just, like, picked people with, like,
Good experience.
no, he's picked people with amazing experience, and that's the point,
Mhm.
is that he's not going through and just, like, alright, so this person did a really cool job on this thing. That's awesome. I know of this person. Most of the people that he's picking up and hiring, people don't know of because they're behind the scenes people. Um, the person who runs their marketing, Anna, she actually worked with my God, she worked with huge companies. Let me
This is why I would never be able to get into 100T. Bro, I wish if
let's see.
I
She
could
previously
literally.
worked with TikTok, Vice, Snapchat, and she was at UCLA. So
Damn. Well,
her,
shit. That girl got a reputation.
nah,
Okay.
like the people that they hire are amazing.
Mhm.
Let's see.
I mean, they're doing amazing things. Like I genuinely believe that every decision since their relaunch after the first time that HR tried, since that moment that they launched up again and they really put their time and effort into this organization, I don't think that there has been one decision that I've disagreed with. Like straight up,
Um,
everything that
they
they've done,
handled
I've
the
loved.
Medios thing kind of shakily, but they were a new
Mhm.
org. Lessons had to be learned. Like it kind of is what it is. But that would be my only thing. Um, their decision, like specifically for Call of Duty, um, to drop Pharaoh, I didn't necessarily disagree with that one.
Mhm.
Just because at that time there were entire rosters getting changed out. So for me, when there was one player, and let's be honest, it seems like that switch has worked out. So
I mean, yeah. Right now, I legitimately like think, and again, this might be from favoritism, so don't quote me on this, but I genuinely think that the 100T roster is better than the Optic Gaming roster at the current
Optic's
moment in
going through
time.
something right now. I don't know what
I
it
don't know.
is.
I don't know what's going on, but like I remember
Vibes
the
are
last
off.
time I watched them, they 3-0'd them. I think
Vibes are
I
off.
think 100T 3-0'd them.
They did. They did in their first ever LAN matchup at the Pro League
Yeah,
cross divisional. Yep.
and it's like, and it's just like, in my honest opinion, and I like, and I remember I watched the videos gaming. you. And it was Scum talking about, well, first of all, Scum's fly was down, by the way. He didn't zip up his pants, which is fucking hilarious. I don't think he noticed the entire time he was making that video.
It's funny.
Um, but like when he was talking, he was saying like, I'm really pissed off because people are gonna think that they're better than us. And on top of that, like he literally said throughout the entire video, they're not competition. They're not competition. And then they got 3 out. And I legitimately think that in Scump's eyes, that literally no one is competition. Nobody. It's only it's only OpTic Gaming, and OpTic Gaming rules all. They've always ruled it over everything at all times, and it doesn't matter. They don't give a shit. And you can already see that lack of like kind of like you can see that when this all started, and I think this really all started when they started missing practices, or not missing
Mhm.
them, but delaying scrims with
So
100T.
if you
Like you
wonder,
really started seeing that ego kind of like shining through those cracks. Like it's genuinely just getting worse and worse and worse. And I think that what's happening is like right now, I think that the biggest problems on Up the Gaming are Scump and Crim. I legitimately think that Dashi, like he's like a fucking badass. Like straight up, like I love him, and I think that he really, really cares. But I think everybody else in the squad right now, specifically Crim and Scump, just have such huge egos that is just It just I think it's really starting to it's just affecting their play. The way the way that they're playing, it's starting to affect them really badly.
Mhm.
Like it's starting to get into their play style. It's starting to get like it's like overconfidence. Like confidence is good. A little bit of overconfidence is still good, especially when you're competing in competitive gaming.
There's a
But
thin
when you
line
get
between
into a
confidence
point,
and cocky.
yeah, and when you're getting to a point where it's just like beyond that line,
Mhm.
like it's really gonna start affecting the way you play and the way you're performing, and that's exactly I think what's happening.
Yeah.
And I just don't really know like what's going on, and I think that like I mean I don't know what's going on in OpTic Gaming, but I'm hoping that I think that Hex is trying to fix this issue. I just don't think I don't at the same time I don't know. I don't
No, I
know.
think he knows. But at the other end, so how long have like Crim and Scump like been on? Not even that. Crim, Scump, and Karma. It's been
Since
years. It's
Ghost,
been years.
like
It's
Advanced
been
Warfare,
years. They were the
no,
new
I don't even know.
dynasty. They got Hexa champ. There's a lot of history there, and even
I
Hex
mean,
like
after World War II, like that's when that history changed. But
oh
until World War II,
absolutely.
they were gods, and then World War II like rolled in, and my God, I mean, Scump is literally curses out that game any chance that he has. He fucking hates that
I
game.
didn't like World War Two.
I didn't like World War II either, and I thought it was like at the beginning I was excited for it, but then I didn't like. I haven't liked the Call of Duty since Ghost. No,
So
like I didn't like Call of Duty
here's
since
when
Ghost,
you
and then Advanced
know
Warfare
for
was good.
me anyway, when you know a Call of Duty is off, is when Amanda jumps into their first game and goes triple positive. That's when you know
That's wrong.
something's off. like
Doesn't that does not.
I know like I can hold my own in a pub, but damn, I'm not jumping scump pub numbers.
Mhm.
So yeah, um, it felt good for me, but like it was too slow. The colors were off. Same guns, same maps. It was very
Oh my God.
bleak. It was
I've
just I
I've been
didn't like
complaining
it.
about this since Black Ops 2. I legitimately have been saying this for a long, long time. What I loved about like Black Ops 2, and it wasn't even that flashy. I love bright colors. And this is what I hated about MW2 and MW3. It's so dark. It's
Uh huh.
so freaking dark and brown and black, and it's like there's literally no, I don't know, it doesn't I don't like it. I really really hate it, and that's what I really liked about Black Ops 2, and I really want COD to start doing this. I want more color. I really want things to start like flashing out towards me. Like I don't want everything like it's you know what a Call of Duty is bad when you can't tell a difference between an enemy and the ground or the wall. Like it's like they literally blend in together because everything is so dark. It's awful. Like legitimately, like what I would do is I would purposely tell my teammates to not pick skins or things like that that would have random colors in them and just do the random default skins because you could literally just blend in with everything and that's it. And you could just win by lying on the ground. Nobody could ever see you and they would pass you like 7 times.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion on that. I don't really like it that much. And that's my opinion on OpTic gaming as well. I don't know. I just think that I just really really want OpTic and I really really want Scump and Crim to just kind of get a reality check. And this is gonna sound awful, and I don't mean this in a mean way. This is me looking out. I guess in my way looking out for them. Really, I'm like nobody to them, but like I really hope that the next tournament they just flop because I really really feel like they need to just fucking like be
You
on the
think that
bottom to go back up again.
I was about to say you think they need a whole other like
They need to change
roster
their
shift?
mindset. I mean, I don't know if they need a roster shift. I think they need a mental shift.
Oh,
Straight
absolutely.
up.
I don't think there is anything or anybody around right now that can put Scump and Crim in their place.
No, and the
Hex
only way that's
even
gonna do that is
said in
numbers.
his
Numbers and
podcast that he was like, "Nah, like I don't think I could ever drop Scump. There's too much history there. I don't think I
mhm.
could ever drop Nade Shot. He was the one that left. I didn't drop him. So there you go. It's gonna have to be somebody who's gonna offer Scump more money, or Scump's gonna go make his own organization or something.
I don't think Scump is like I don't think Scump has the esports mindset, like a staff mindset or business mindset to make his own work. But I'm just saying, like, I think that unless like
I do
until they
because he has the money to pay people.
well, he has the money to pay people, but I mean, I don't think that Nate just pays people to do it. I think Nate genuinely participates and has a
Oh,
business as
absolutely, he does.
well. And that's what I think makes 100th team more successful than what I think what Scump would make, unless he literally brought on like everyone and paid them like 100K a fucking month. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just think that it's like I just think that if 100 what I want OpTic to do is I want OpTic to literally fail, just get crushed on their face, and when they've been crushed, right? When they've been at the very bottom, every single time OpTic has been, they've always gotten up and they've been stronger. And this is what I think it needs to happen. I just think OpTic needs to fail and then realize that hey, we need to stop what we're doing and really like we're competing and yeah, okay, maybe we've been competing for a very long time and yeah, maybe we don't care as much. I just like I don't think that Scump even cares as much to win anymore. But I just feel like it's still it just they need to wake up and be like, but this still matters. This is still our career. And if we're gonna retire soon at some point in the future, let's just at least make retire with a bang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel I just wish they cared more. And you could just see that they don't,
No.
and it upsets me.
Um, I wouldn't say that they necessarily care. I think it's just one of those things where they think they're so good and they have so much time put into it that, um, you know, Crimp's the Crimp, Jesus. Scump is the king and Crim is, the bot. They have these
Mhm.
titles to them. If we're late to 30 minutes for scrims, like, well, fuck it. I'm Scrim. We're Scump. We were going to get food. You fucking wait for us. Um, I mean, that's just how it is. They expect to be treated like royalty. I mean, it seems like apparently there was an issue with that during the land that was at the Hex quarters, um, where the dudes were late to scrims because they were busy watching March Madness. And that
Mhm.
included apparently it was TJ who was involved in that. So, um, seems like the little guys are trying to maybe possibly adapting that mentality as well. Where, well, fuck, we won the first event of the year. Clearly, we're still good. Yeah.
By the way, I just totally random. I'm highlighting all the topics that we've talked about, so it's really, really easy for us to just go back and just see what's going on.
Okay. That's
So
fine.
I'm just
I mean,
keeping
we
this.
honestly, like, we didn't even hit nearly on
We didn't
enough of
even
the
talk about
topics.
literally 99% of the topics. We just
No.
went on rambles.
No. It was fun, though.
Yeah,
This is
I mean,
fun,
like
though.
honestly, we can just do it. Like this is a pretty good podcast. Like we can do another one and just do a couple random topics, or like we can start making like. I mean, it depends if anyone wants like in the because I know you're posting this on YouTube. Like
Yeah.
if you want in the comment section below, just like write to us like like topics that you want us to talk about, or like if you want us to do more like. Like we do like one podcast specifically targeted for COD, one podcast specifically targeted for like, the new like drama and tea and popcorn for the, what's going on in esports and shit like that. Like just tell us below and then we'll talk about it and figure it out because we have like I think what's like what 6 different topics that we didn't even go over.
Oh God, yeah, we have a whole page of podcast notes that so we didn't even like. I looked
Well,
over at it a couple
Vivian,
times, but yeah.
Vivian did a
Let me
lot.
rephrase. I apologize. Vivian wrote a couple pages worth of podcast notes, while Amanda just has a couple links up. But yeah, there was
Yeah,
definitely a
I
couple stuff
wasn't.
that
I'm
we
not
didn't
as
hit on.
educated as she is on on these topics. I mean, I'm not. I'm really not. I don't like go into it. Like I read it, but I don't really like delve like into the topic specifically. And
Yeah,
since we're gonna make a podcast, I was like, all right, I need to know a little bit more facts so I don't sound like a fucking idiot.
yeah. There's actually a couple things that I need to read up on, especially with Call of Duty going into franchising next year. Like contracts. I need to read up more about the Overwatch League. I need to become more familiar with that.
I don't know a lot about the
Me
Overwatch League, to be
neither.
honest with you.
Me neither.
I really need to get into that. There's a
Same.
lot of things like, in all honesty, like if you want me to be completely like straightforward with you, I really don't understand. Like, not that I don't understand. Like, I understand games, but like when you like dive into like the more complex, I've never specialized in contracts. I've never specialized in those
Uh-huh.
types of things. I don't really know much about it. I'm a marketing person. You know what I mean? Social media marketing, digital marketing. That's my baby. That's it. That's all I like. Project management. That's all I know. I don't really specialize in anything to do with that. That's why I don't really know a lot about the Overwatch League system. I just know that it just specifically I know certain things that correlate with COD that want to be implemented that I don't agree with. And
Yeah.
that's really it.
Yeah, there's I'm really like these next I'm gonna say let's see what is it now? It is April, so May, June, July, August. So honestly, we only have like 3-4 months until like franchising reality starts hitting.
Mhm.
Because Champs is well, we don't really have a date in Champs, but it's usually like July, I think. I don't remember, but yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. There's a lot of different stuff going on with esports right now. This huge quote unquote bubble. There's tons of rumors of different games getting into franchising as well, with the recent one being Rainbow Six Siege, which I'm personally
Yeah.
interested in.
I mean, I heard a little bit about it, but all I know is that they're genuinely like looking. They're doing the same thing that Activision doing, just not as high of a level.
Yep.
They're just looking at like the best teams, and they're like, okay, that's it. We don't care about anybody else. We don't care if you've been competing like since like the very beginning. We don't care if you're competing right now. Fuck you. Like we're only gonna look at people that have money. And I mean, I understand that. I just hate the fact that there's no loyalties. But in business, there really never is. So
No, no.
I can't really blame them
It's
for that.
yeah. It's weird being a person who specializes in esports and video games, and now everything is kind of switching away from what I'm familiar with. Um, like even when we're talking about new names coming in the esports and stuff like that, it's the big guys. It's the Bob Crafts and the millionaires slash billionaires of the world where they have the money to spare. Um, like I'm gonna say quote unquote theory that I've been sticking on is that we're gonna be seeing smaller orgs. I mean, it sucks to say that they're small when they're really not. But like E United, I see like their entire roster and staff just getting bought out by a bigger entity that's gonna come in
Oh
because
yeah.
I don't see E United
Mhm.
having 100 mil in the bank.
No, this is my opinion. I think that and this is why I mean I'm upset with with Hector's decision
It
when
was it was
he
kind of needed though, but
but it was
yeah,
exactly, but that's the thing, but it was needed. Like I understand his thought process through. He's like, "Listen, we're a big organization. We do have money, but the and he was right about this. The direction that esports is going, and this he said this like 2 years ago or like a year ago. I don't remember when. The direction that esports is going, I need more cash. If I don't have cash, it's
yep,
over.
yep,
It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what brand I have. Like, if I don't have cash, I'm just gonna get bought out. Everything's gonna get bought out. I'm just gonna lose everything. And that's why he made that decision. It's because like right now, esports is like you got if you don't have more money than the other person, you're screwed. And like I think that the problem is so like that's why I was saying earlier with like Call of Duty and like how I hate how in esports as well. Like if you don't um yeah if you don't like have like you can't just come into the esports scene anymore and make it.
no,
You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way anymore. And it's like it's getting to a point now where hey Nyland. And it's getting to a point now where it's like no matter what happens, if like these organizations, the small ones, Twitter organizations, like sizes like for example Gankstars and even sizes like E United, they're just gonna slowly start disappearing. Like if unless E United literally gets a big name under like to back them up, it's like these bigger names and these these people that have an insane sum of money are just gonna come in and just take everything over,
mhm,
and it's really starting. It just upsets me just because like esports used to be about so many things like mainly passion and love for gaming, and I mean I understand that it's becoming a business. I mean I'm part of that business,
yeah.
but it just upsets me that it's really just becoming like sports. Like, it's just all business.
It
It's
is.
all
It
business.
is. Yeah. For a while, I was always running on the assumption that esports really would separate from traditional sports, but it seems like traditional sports folks are coming over to esports, and that's
It's
becoming,
because esports is it wants to
yeah,
like the people that are up top want it to be that way.
yes,
If
it's
that wasn't the case, I don't think it would happen.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, it's becoming more of a reality, and it's just something that unfortunately people like you and I, who work in esports, we're just gonna have to adapt to, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. I think the OGs, like you and I, and people that have been in the esports scene way longer, like because I've only been here for 3 years.
Mm,
And I can't even imagine people that have been following it since like like Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3 age. You know what I mean? Like hardcore fans. I don't even know how they feel about it. Like I
I
feel
don't.
really bad for
Yeah.
people that like have been watching esports for so long. Because in my opinion, like when you're an like once you're an esports fan, you're an esports fan.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't. It's very difficult to change that. Like maybe you don't watch things as frequently, or maybe like you don't play games as frequently, but you still love esports, and you know esports exists, and you tell people about esports, and that's what I love about esports, and it's slowly changing, and it's genuinely upsetting.
It is. It is. But that's the thing. We love esports. We're gonna be here until it either crashes to the ground or we die or whatever. But we're we're
Hmm.
we're we're here for it. We may not necessarily like it, but we'll adapt. All right. Is there any last parting words you would like to say to the stream slash YouTube before we sign off?
Okay, well, I mean, thank you for having me. I hope we have another one soon. Um, like I said to you guys before, anyone on YouTube, just or like on Twitter, like you had the ads are presented on the graphics, and they're probably going to be shown obviously on the YouTube channel itself. Like, message Amanda or I, and just tell us some ideas or some things that you want us to talk about. Like, we're always willing to talk to new people. We're always willing to bring people on board. If they have some
Yeah.
things they want to talk about on stream, like we're happy to have them here. Um, and like honestly, like I had a blast. This was a really nice chat, and for a first time, I think we did a really good job.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It actually went a lot like smoother than I expected. There's a couple like
Hmm.
brain farts I had, but it happens. It's Monday.
I've been and practicing so many interviews. I can just like on the fly.
She's on it.
like you, I have to, man. I
Oh
have
man.
to.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody who tuned in, hung out, said hi. I believe like we actually did have like a few people who tuned in and
We
said
have
hi.
five or six people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really
So
nice.
yeah. So I'll get this uploaded to YouTube and all of that. But until then, thank you guys again, and I guess we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Yeah. See you. Bye.